Hey, everybody. It's another Tuesday night, and that means another Tuesdays with Michael. I want to thank everybody for joining us yet again. We keep doing this. You keep showing up. We've actually reached the last episode of the first season, if you will, of Tuesdays with Michael. And as you may expect, every time I click the wrong banner. We're 7 episodes in, and I still have no idea what I'm doing. To add a little bit of fun to my usual ineptitude, I was lucky enough to have my first COVID shot today. And in addition to being really excited about streaming 5G from my arm and no longer needing my GPS watch to track all of my runs and upload them to Strava, I'm also one of the few lucky people that managed to get some side effects out of the gate. So please bear with me tonight. For those who haven't joined us, Tuesdays with Michael presents a chance to get to know some of the people who are doing really great things in Muskegon. It's about giving them a chance to talk about their why. Why Muskegon? Why the path in life that they chose? And why is what they do really special, cool, or important to the community? We have some rough outlines each week of things that we want to talk about. But at the end of the day, it's freeform. Questions are encouraged. As I mentioned, this is the last episode of our first season. I'm honestly really looking forward to a little bit of a break. But if you want the show to continue, just let us know in the comments or shoot us a message. And if you have any guest ideas, shoot them to us. So I do have a quick obligatory sales pitch. I almost forgot. The show's intended for those 21 years and older. My obligatory sales pitch, our Western Avenue Tap Room reopens tomorrow at 3 p.m. We're going back where it all started. So without too much further ado, see, I'm all over the board today. We do have 2 gift cards to give away. This week, we're giving away 2 gift cards to G&L Chili Dogs, Muskegon Institution. One will be given away to whomever asks our guest's favorite question tonight. And even if it's not on the screen or answered, they'll have a chance to go through tomorrow and pick their favorite. The other is going to be given away to the first person to correctly answer a trivia question I come up with about something totally random near the end of the show. So good luck to all of you. And without further ado, now we go to welcoming our guests. I have to admit, I'm a little excited and a lot nervous about tonight. This is my first time with 3 people on the show. I've had a chance to share stories and drinks with all of our guests individually and together over the years, but I've really never had a chance to just sit down and talk about their favorite punk bands. So tonight is going to be that night. We've got Chris Zahrt, LaShelle Mikesell, and Dave Biesiada. They are all board members for the Michigan Irish Music Festival, which is, I wrote arguably in my notes, but I don't think it's arguable. It is Muskegon's drinkingest, dancingest, partyingest festival. And they all come from diverse professional backgrounds, but unite with a ton, thousands, or at least probably hundreds of other volunteers to pull off a weekend that I never actually remember. So let's learn a little bit more about them, shall we? Welcome, and welcome. Oh, see, we all have look at this. The sunglasses are catching on. Well, if you wear the sunglasses, nobody can tell where you're looking on the screen except for the head movement.
That's right.
It's perfect. So I keep forgetting to answer this every week. We have a comment. No one has asked yet. Okay. Last week, someone asked in the comments and reminded me. I forget every week. What are y'all drinking tonight?
So I got the vodka lemonade cranberry draft cocktail from Pigeon Hill.
Good choice.
Nice and tasty.
I have in my Michigan Irish cooler. I have the beach please. One, because I love the beer. Second, because I flipping love this label.
Derek Dial.
Well, I'm drinking Shifting Sands. It's kind of my comfort beer. I love it. It's anywhere I go. If it's on tap, I'll get a Shifting Sands. I do like to branch out once in a while, but Shifting Sands is my go-to.
Honestly, when we opened Pigeon Hill, I didn't drink IPAs, and Shifting Sands has become my go-to over the last, I guess 7 years next week. I did actually start the night with a Mikey's Little Wiener, but the beer. But I've already switched over to a Shifting Sands. So,
but we should encourage anybody else that doesn't have a favorite. They should start, especially this month, with the MI Irish Stout.
I wore the shirt.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, hold up. I've got a picture of that one, so we'll just throw that up on the screen.
Yay.
My Irish Stout, the official beer of the Michigan Irish Music Festival, and honestly, one of the greatest honors in our brewing career so far.
Nice.
Great.
Can I throw a little trivia in about that? The label on that. If anyone has seen our graphic for the St. Patrick's Day concert that we have coming up, the same wonderful gentleman designed the label for the My Irish Stout has designed our couch potato for our concert. So thanks, Dan Reagan.
And many of you may have liked his design so much that over the last 30 years, you've picked up a Hallmark card in your favorite store with a rendering that you thought may have looked like it was produced by the same artist, and in fact it was.
Which is real. Honestly, it's really awesome. That's one of the things that's so much fun for me is getting to work with other artists. You know, I get to help design most of our labels here at Pigeon Hill. But unfortunately, this is how I design a label. It's just chicken scratch, and I have to send that off to someone. You know, I've been so lucky to be able to work with artists who actually know what they're doing and can design an amazing label instead of just chicken scratch on a piece of paper. So,
well, Michael, I have to give a shout out to your Shivering Timbers IPA as well during the summertime. That's another favorite of mine. So I wanted to throw that out there.
Designed and named for and named after one of my favorite thrill rides my entire life.
Nice.
We normally kind of kick this off, just getting to know everybody a little bit. I think Dave might have frozen, but that's fine. We'll just keep rolling. Dave, if you kick it back, we'll see you. I'm kind of new to foursomes, so we got to take tonight, just try and figure out how to make this dynamic work. Let's make it easy on me and do a roll call. Where are you all from originally? And if not Muskegon, what brought you here? If you are from here, did you leave? And if so, why'd you return? Chris, you're up.
Great. Well, I'm a lifelong Muskegon resident and 1980 class of the Big Reds, the only real high school in town. And
shots fired.
Bam. So I've been here my whole life and never had a desire to go anywhere else except on vacation. And even then, I'm always so glad to come home. I'm just so thrilled to be in a community and have been able to have been so active for so many years in a community, doing a lot of different stuff over the course of my professional career and my volunteer career that I just couldn't even think about being anywhere else but Muskegon.
Awesome. LaShelle, you are up because we totally lost David.
Oh,
we're going to make up his backstory. I wish I hadn't I had a bunch of pictures of him as a kid and I got rid of them. So now I'm regretting that, but go ahead.
Well, I was born in North Carolina on a Marine base, but my parents were from Muskegon, moved around a lot. In total, I went to 13 schools before I graduated, but Muskegon has always been home and always will be home. And also a Muskegon high school graduate, class of 82. I remember Chris in high school. She had really long hair then. And also where I met my husband, that we're still together. So that's nice.
I did have a collection of pictures of the two of you over the past couple of years from, I think, when you met. And I was going to ask if the two of you have ever aged, because I'm not sure, but that got tossed too. So.
For sure this year.
All right. So, Dave, I don't know if you heard the question. Just where are you from? All right. Yeah. Where are you? I know you're from Muskegon. Well, I don't know if you were actually born here. So where are you originally from? And if it's not here, what brought you here? And if you were from here, what brought you back if you ever left?
Well, I was born and raised here in Muskegon. And I've been here all my life. I've thought about leaving here and there in my career. And at one point I was going to move to Chicago and changed my mind. So I'm born and raised here in West Michigan, and I love where I live, and I love this place with all my heart, really. And it's getting better every day, and it's amazing to see the ebbs and flows, and to be around long enough to get to know, half the community. So,
And Dave wishes he went to Muskegon High School.
Where'd you go, Dave?
I'm a Shores grad.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Sympathy
It
applause.
sounded sympathetic.
It was sympathy applause. No, good for you. My mom teaches at Shores, so I gotta give the sailors some love.
Shores was one of the 13 schools that I went to. One of Shores High School.
Did you get kicked out?
No, then I moved to Nebraska.
Oh. Okay. Wow. I mean, I lived in Bluffton and then Spring Lake, and it was like, holy cow, my whole life just changed.
That was a shock.
Yeah, it was quite the culture shock. Yeah, there's a reason I live in Muskegon. I mean, great place, but not for me. So obviously, Michigan Irish is a huge part of your lives, and I can tell that from looking at your Facebook profiles. I Facebook stalked all of you. LaShelle is the only one that had the privilege of causing my computer to overheat when I tried to scroll through her photos and making me give up after 48 minutes and getting only to 2018. But I know that you also all have jobs outside of MIMF, and I have heard that volunteering doesn't actually always pay the bills. So what's your current career? Anything fun or interesting about the path in life that took you there? And once again, we're going to roll call this. So just start with, this time we'll start in my corner. LaShelle.
So my current job is doing social media for Visit Muskegon, which is the Convention and Visitors Bureau for Muskegon County. And in case anybody that's watching doesn't know, I do the social media for Michigan Irish Music Festival. And I would say the interesting path is that it was my volunteering for Michigan Irish Music Festival that led me to this job that I have now that I absolutely love. So kids, if you are listening, volunteer. Take your passions, take them to somewhere that you have a passion for, and volunteer, because it opens up doors and it opens up your life.
Absolutely. Dave, you're next, since you're still on screen.
Well, I am currently, this will be my 5th season out at Michigan's Adventure. I run the food and beverage department out there, and and I came up in the restaurant business, around this town, and it is by far the biggest operation that I've had to deal with. It's amazing the amount of food we go through, and it's hot dogs and hamburgers and French fries. It seems quite simple, but it's quite complicated. But I love it. I love being in the atmosphere of the park, and people are there to have fun, and people are screaming and laughing, and I get to be outside, so I'm outside all day walking around. On a good Saturday night, I mean, I'll get in 35,000 steps, and it's been a great job. And I grew up in that park, so and it's a place that I've always wanted to work. I don't know why I never did as a young man, but it's always been a place in my mind where I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to work there. Yeah. And so that's where I'm at.
And it's great anywhere you go in, not just Michigan, but the Midwest. When you say you're from Muskegon, you're always like, oh, are they going to know where Muskegon is? And more frequently they do. But 4 or 5 years ago, when I would say that, it was always Michigan's Adventure. And it's such a fun, it's kind of our little slice of magic here in West Michigan. We do have a question from Graciela, which I get to now delete from my list for later. Thank you. What's your favorite ride? And I'm going to extend that to everyone, because I was going to ask that to everyone. So favorite ride at Michigan's Adventure?
I would have to say hands down, Shivering Timbers roller coasters is an amazing coaster. And at one point when it was built, it was the largest, tallest, longest wooden roller coaster in the world. I mean, it was really something, and it's quite a ride. I mean, it's bumpy and clackety, and there's a lot of airtime, and you get your cheeks off the seat multiple times, and it's a blast. I mean, you pull into the station after a ride, and your adrenaline's going, and it's a good rush.
I always say it's cheaper than a chiropractor because you get a good adjustment.
Oh yeah.
Chris, favorite ride in Michigan's Adventure? Do you have one?
Gosh, it's been so long since I've been on a ride there. I love the water park, but I don't know, Dave, you're going to have to help me out. What's it called? It's the log ride that goes in the water. What's that called?
That's the flume ride.
See, it's called something different in any park, but yeah. I always want that opportunity to splash and get wet.
Loggers Run, actually.
Loggers.
Yeah.
LaShelle, you?
So I'm with Chris. I really like the Loggers Run also, but any amusement park I go to, it's the Ferris wheel for me. I always love the Ferris wheel.
Yep. So I love this. I remember people from Europe going there for the timber. That's awesome. It's honestly, it's a rarity. It's not the most thrilling roller coaster in the world, but it's so special in its own right.
We've had groups of roller coaster enthusiasts come from across the ocean, and they're in the United States doing a tour of amusement parks, and they'll come to Michigan's Adventure, and it's a group of usually 20 or 25 of them. They're all traveling together on a bus, and they just have an absolute ball. And we're one of the smaller parks in our company, but they love it just the same. It's pretty cool.
Okay, and so there's people that think that those of us that like Irish music are weird. I'm just saying. That might be a close second.
You're not wrong. Chris, career and any interesting thing about the path that brought you there?
Sure. Well, for the last 9 years, I have sold local television advertising to local businesses. And so I work for Comcast, and so I sell commercials on ESPN, HGTV, History. And I ended up in that position when, after 12 years working for the Muskegon Chronicle, when they were doing all of their downsizing. I was one of those that was downsized. But probably my best opportunity to be involved in the community was when I worked for the Chronicle, because that was my job as the promotion manager. Everything that the Chronicle sponsored, I got to volunteer for. And so it was great to have that job and be involved in the community. And I got to do some amazing things and work with amazing organizations. And although I had a lot of volunteer commitment prior to going there, it was just a perfect fit. So love the opportunity to give back to our community.
Absolutely. All right. So now we're at the point where we have to get in kind of the nuts and bolts before we go completely off the rails. It seems to be somewhere around the 45-minute mark that the rails just kind of shake off, like they do on No, they don't do that on Shivering Timbers, but you think they might. You feel like they will. So I want to make sure we cover some of the important stuff. These shows are never. Hey, Harper. These shows are never a sales pitch, just a chance to learn more. And in this instance, I thought it might be a great way to see how we could carry over some of the success, the resounding success of the Michigan Irish Music Festival into other areas. So I'm going to kind of open the floor. I don't have we're not going to do roll call anymore. But how did the Michigan Irish Music Festival get its start? How long has it been going on?
Well, I think I'll take that if it's okay with LaShelle and Dave. 2000 was our first year of operation, and we started based on the fact that Frank Bednarik, who was then the county administrator for Muskegon County, And Paul Roy, who was the facilities manager director, wanted us to do an event in our community in a shoulder season. So they brought this idea forward, and so we pulled together a group of folks that we had all had worked together over the years, and decided to produce an Irish festival in September. So it's always been part of our goal to hold the event in a shoulder season, because part of our mission is to bring people to our community, to sleep in hotels, to affect our tourism in a shoulder season and increase room tax accommodations dollars, as well as, most importantly, sharing the Irish culture, the heritage, the music with our community. And in those first few years, it was tough in the fact that our community really, by and large, didn't know anything about Irish music or culture or history. And so that's a great thing that we, in my opinion, that we've been able to do, is share all of those traditions with our community, and really have provided a great learning opportunity for people to come to the festival, enjoy some awesome music, have a great time, and hopefully learn something while they're there. So that's how it started in 2000, and obviously exponentially has just grown over the years. And started out with like a 2-stage operation, and most recently we've had 7 stages, and lots of tents, probably 50 tents. I see you got some photos there, and we've always had to adapt and change as things have gone on. And I'm very proud of the fact that our entire board of directors takes that real seriously and thinks about how can we make sure that whatever it is we're producing and presenting is going to provide the best customer experience. We want people to go away and say, oh my gosh, I had so much fun. The music was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I can't believe the food was great. The beer was so good. And oh my goodness, did you go to the bathroom? The bathrooms are unbelievable. So, and those are all true statements that people say. And we want them to go away and say, I may have never been there before, but I'm never going to miss it again. So.
I am so mad at myself for not trying to find a picture of the bathrooms. It didn't even occur to me until you said that. And I was like, why don't I have a picture of the bathrooms? When you talk to somebody and you say, the bathrooms are amazing, the first thing they do is look at you like, how many times did you have to use them? And the second thing they do is ask, what?
Right.
But it's incredible. So...
And we knew when we made that change in 2009 that people were going to have an unbelievable reaction to that. And we knew that people were going to come out of the bathrooms and say to their friends, you got to see this. You got to come with me. You're never going to believe this. And it's all about us making sure that their experience is better. We know that women don't want to use a porta-john that a man has used. No offense, guys. But if we can make the experience better, then we want to do that. And it's proven for us, not only for the female side, but also the men, because the men say, thank you, because now we get to stay longer. It used to be the women would say, we're not having another beer here because I'm not going to the bathroom here, so let's go.
It's kind of weird. I guess I never would have thought, I've gone to Electric Forest and had experiences where things in the porta potties were bouncing because of the music, and it was not pleasant. And then you go to you expect that, I guess, at a big festival, and then you go to Irish Fest, and it's like, oh, I can wash my hands. Well, okay, that's awesome.
Right. We have baby changing stations in our bathrooms that are fully stocked with everything, and I think that means a lot to the families with young children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would say men and women.
Sure.
When the festival is in operation, I don't even go at home. Like, I wait until I get to the festival. Like,
all right, that's kind of weird, Dave.
Okay.
Well, but really, for me, if I live, I don't know, it's 0.3 miles roughly, we'll say, from the festival grounds. And so if I have to look at a long line and say I get to go into a porta-john that may or may not be overflowing, or I can walk 0.3 miles home, guess what I'm going to do? And I'll probably come back, but maybe not. I would say it's crazy to think how big of a deal that is.
Well, all joking aside, though, Michael, I mean, that's just one element that is indicative of the planning and all of the care that our board of directors takes into the changes that we've made. And that's across the board, whether it's been restrooms or whether it's been music and bringing in world-class musicians that people are going to just have their minds blown by when they see them on stage, or whether it's the cultural programs we do or the experiences that they can get if they're doing a social media contest. We want them to go away with the best Disney-esque experience that they possibly can have.
I mean, from my personal experience, I fully admit it at the outset that I don't always remember everything about Irish Fest, but I would say from what I do remember, you've always nailed it. So I kind of ties into a couple of other questions that I had. When we look at our Irish Fest versus other Irish festivals, because I haven't been to any others, the bar's obviously been set very high. Where does it rank in things like that, in these important metrics, and where does it rank in size? Go ahead, Chris.
Okay.
Yeah, I got plenty of embarrassing questions for LaShelle and Dave as we go.
So in size, we're about in the middle of the pack. So the granddaddy of them all would be Milwaukee Irish Fest, and that's held on the Summerfest grounds mid-August. So there are 120,000 people over the course of 4 days, and then a close second to them is going to be Dublin, Ohio, Kansas City, and Irish Fair of Minnesota, and they're all going to be 95 to 98,000 people. And then you've got one or two that might be a 50, and then a good chunk of us that are like the 30s, the 35,000, and then a lot of festivals that are 10,000 or less. So as far as attendance-wise, we're in the middle of the pack, but everybody has a different measuring stick. And when we talk to our sister festivals across the country, we're very well revered by all of them. It all comes back to the quality of our event. We're often measured just against like the big ones because of our quality. We have the same music lineup that they have in Milwaukee, that they have in Dublin, that they have in Kansas City, and not that they don't have great quality, but our event is smaller, but we got it going on, and we've got people that know what they're doing, and that shows in the final product that we produce.
And I think us being the middle of the pack size works very well for. We've been to other festivals. Chris and Dave and I, and they're all fantastic. Absolutely, there's nothing I love like going to an Irish Fest. But when they're really big, it's a little bit overwhelming. And when they're really small, they're great. But we're just the right size that there are. If you like one style of music, you can head over there to hear it because maybe you don't like the more mellow or the more rocking music, or your kids are tired of the music and you have somewhere to take the kids. It's doable and it's not overwhelming, and there's something always going on for everybody in the family. So I love that about our festival.
So Pine Street Mercantile, much love from me to Pine Street Mercantile.
And from me too.
Yeah, you just got that. Yeah, I know, you just got that couch. They were a little upset with you for buying it so quickly. I'm just going to let you know, LaShelle. It's a small town. Great question from Pine. Is there an ideal size for the event? Is it at the ideal size right now?
Well, I think it all depends on where the event wants to be and where the planners want to be with that event. One of the things that we have always focused on is manageable growth, making sure that we don't increase attendance too much, because we want to make sure that we can manage it and that we can deliver the best experience possible.
Absolutely. So obviously, that definitely ties into one of the questions that I had. We still haven't gotten into the questions I wrote this morning. So those are the really fun ones. I think it might be Dave where we're getting feedback.
Is your dog licking the keyboard?
Not Harper. So,
Harper, go to your room.
we see all of these huge tents, and I'll pull that picture back up. It was totally Harper. She left it. All right. So we see all these huge tents. We know it's a massive production. What does it actually look like in terms of, time? Do you start the day it ends? How many volunteers actually take to pull it off? Just what kind of effort goes into something like this? I'd like to hear from all three of you. Honestly, I think that's one way I would like to hear from all of you.
So it's year round effort. As soon as we're done, where we have monthly board meetings, and a couple times a year we get all of our team leads together with our board, and we're planning. We're always wanting to make sure that every festival is better than the last one. As great as it was, we don't ever want it to feel this. I mean, we want it to feel the same in a good way, but we want there always to be something exciting, and that doesn't just happen. It takes a lot of people to come together and work at it to come up with ideas and make it come to fruition, and a lot of volunteers, and we love our volunteers.
Right. So to answer that question specifically, Michael, we have 23 members on our board of directors that meet monthly. Our leadership team, including of the board of directors, is about 125 people all in. And last year, I think we were just over 1,600 volunteers for the course of the 4-day weekend. So if this is just a little, we use about 275 volunteers just to pour beverages. That doesn't include selling tickets, garbage pickup, working with the kids, working with the food vendors, working on the stages, working in social media, just pouring a beverage. We have 275 volunteers.
That is incredible.
And we start setting up the site the weekend of Labor Day weekend. They start setting the tents up. It takes us about 10 days to fully set up the site. Then we have the event, and then it takes another 5 days to tear down. So our site crew are usually on site for about 33 days.
It truly is an amazing group of people that puts this event on. They're so devoted, and it's such a fun group of people, and I love to be with them. And it's as it was said earlier, it's a year-round thing. I mean, and that's what I love about it. It's not just like, okay, it's August, let's start doing stuff for the festival. It's a year-round thing, and the fact that we give back so much to the community. And Chris, you can probably talk to that, but we give so much back to the community. It's a nonprofit organization, and we give thousands and thousands of dollars to the food pantries, and we do a lot of good in the community. So it's why wouldn't you want to be involved?
So for those who do want to get involved, what do they need to do?
Sure. We're always looking for more volunteers. Obviously, our volunteer portal isn't open right now to sign up, but at any time, anybody could go to our website, and there's a contact us button. They could send an email saying, hey, my name's Michael Brower, and I really want to be more involved with the Irish Festival. I want to remember it. So maybe I need to volunteer and not be a patron. Or they can always reach out to us through social media, whether that be through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. And a lot of times people say, I just want to work a 3-hour shift. That's all I want to do. Or some people want to work every day. Or some people really want to be more involved and work on projects for planning and whatnot, and help with developing new cultural programs or whatever it is. So we always try to find the right spot for them and for what their interests are. But we're always looking for more volunteers. And typically when we get ready to start signing up volunteers to work at the festival. That usually happens beginning of June-ish, and we'll post that on our social media platforms and our website. People can then go on and register.
And there's an email sign up on our website as well. So that's a good way to stay informed on things, is through our email, which doesn't go out super often. So it's not a spammy email.
Right.
I won't get 3 of them a day. Thank you.
No, but I will say this, for anybody that really wants to know more about Irish Fest, and not just about the festival itself, but about Irish traditions and Irish culture and Irish music and trivia about Irish culture, if they're not following us on our social media platforms, they really need to do that, because there isn't anybody in our business. When I talk about our business, I'm talking about the Association of Irish Celtic Festival Organizers across the states. There isn't anybody that does it better than LaShelle Mikesell. She is definitely the master. She's the one that all the other festivals will defer to. If she does a post, they're copying that post. So she does some great stuff out there on social media, and that's a great way for people to learn more about the Irish traditions and Irish culture. And so I would encourage people to follow us there.
That ties into something that it was one of like my personal questions. I've got a couple of personal questions that always get injected into the show. And why do we love, like, I guess we'll say as an American culture, because we're a great melting pot of cultures, why do we love celebrating Irish culture so much? I don't think it's just the fact that we love to drink. And maybe it is. But why do we love Irish culture so much?
I think it's really cool to be Irish. In my opinion, there's 2 kinds of people. There's those of us that are, and those that want to be Irish. And I think it's just, I think there's something magical about the allure of the countryside, of the traditions, of the history. And for those of people that have never been to Ireland, it's unbelievable to go to Ireland.
Sorry. At this point, there we go. There's the picture I was looking for.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Normally I pull it off the screen.
Yeah. So that was on my last trip there, and I don't even remember what city we were in. It was kind of rainy that day, but this church was absolutely beautiful. It's just, LaShelle's been there a couple of times, right?
Just once.
And Dave, have you been there?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an absolutely gorgeous place. And I tell people that all the time, and they think that only gorgeous is Caribbean or Hawaii. And it's just a gorgeous place to go. And I think that that's one of the things that we can bring to the festival is some of that allure of that. And it's different. We see different instruments. We hear people with different accents. We see people dancing that the 4 of us, quite frankly, can't dance like that, So I think it's just because it's just different enough that makes it interesting for us.
I think it's the people of Ireland too. That was one of the best things about my trip there, was just meeting these people in the pubs and out and about, and just they were absolutely engaging and fun to be around, and there's anywhere you go, there's people playing instruments in a booth somewhere, and just an amazing country, and the music is, you can't help but tap your foot,
Yeah, I think there's just a joy to it that comes from the culture and comes from the music and comes from the friendliness. There's an old saying, and I can't remember exactly how it goes, about the hospitality of an Irishman being unmatched, and it's true. And like Dave said, they're just so friendly, and the musicians that come are like, there isn't one that we've met, and we've met a lot of musicians that you don't turn around and go, that's the friendliest person I've ever met. And that joy just seeps out into everything. And I think that's, you step into the festival and you feel that happiness and that joy and that friendliness, and I miss it.
I remember, this has been a number of years ago, but I remember there was an instance and this was told to me about somebody that had this experience in the pub. They were walking along, and there was somebody behind them that had 2 beers, and that person kind of bumped into the person in front of them and spilled some beer down their back. Now, you could imagine how that could turn out, right? The person that got the beer spilled on them turned around and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me buy you 2 more beers." The beers weren't totally wasted. It was just a little bit. And I don't even think that they were really that wet. But the person that got spilled on felt so bad that the other person had spilled some of their beer and they wanted to replace them. And nobody was, "Oh, it was all fine. It was no worries." It was just, everybody was happy. And so it was, and we see that across the board, from our vendors to our volunteers. We've got volunteers that never knew each other before they came to work together at Irish Fest, only see each other working on a shift together at Irish Fest, and you would think they were lifelong friends, the way they react to each other when they see each other. And same thing with our vendors and our musicians too.
That's awesome. All right, so I think I've actually set a record today. I already have to use the restroom. I apologize to everyone, but that gives me a good chance to ask a question that, just as our viewership bumps up. Hi, everybody. I'm Michael. I use the bathroom a lot. Favorite festival memory, and go.
I'll go first on that one. By far, my favorite memory of the festival is the time we got up on stage with Gaelic Storm.
Oh,
and
boxers.
Oh my God. And they were singing Kiss Me, I'm Irish. And the whole crowd had their cell phones out, and it was just a total goosebump moment.
Yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah.
That was a great one.
It was. That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
The only way I would get on stage would be with a big chicken mask over my head.
You were a chicken boxer, weren't you, LaShelle?
Yes.
Oh my God. I hope that Michael's got the picture of you as a chicken boxer. If not, I'm going to find it and put it in the thread of this performance of this clip here. What's your favorite memory, LaShelle?
Mine is, I am a huge fan of Andy Irvine, who is a living legend. And just when I learned that Andy Irvine was coming to our festival, I just couldn't believe that Andy Irvine was going to be in my hometown. And I remember coming up over the hill, little bluff that's behind the GNL tent, and I could hear his voice coming out, and I started crying right there before I got into the tent, because that was Andy Irvine, and his voice was actually carrying across Heritage Landing, and that's something I'll never forget.
Cool. I don't know that I have any singular one favorite memory. Like Dave and I are a little bit more sequestered during the festival, where LaShelle is out in the public with all of our patrons. So there are many times where I'll go through the entire festival and not see any bands, or maybe see a half of a set. And usually if it's a half of a set, it's a set of Dave Curley, just because he's one of my favorites. But for me, my favorite time of the festival is the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning leading up to the opening. That's my favorite time of the festival, when there's stuff that comes at you every which way. You don't even expect that it's coming, and you've got to deal with different issues. The anticipation that it's going to start, for me, is the most exciting. And that probably is coupled by the fact that I don't get to be out in the crowd too often and see what's going on, number one. Number two, I also know that once it starts, it's going to be over in like 40 hours, and I hate that. I hate the fact that we've worked on it for 12 months, and in the blink of an eye, it's going to be all done. So that's kind of a thing for me. But I guess probably that Sunday night Beers and Tears is probably some of my favorite stuff too. And that's the last show on Sunday night in the pub, when Seamus is on stage and our whole crew is pretty much done with what their jobs are, and we're all out there together. And That's kind of a cool thing too.
Awesome. So, Dave, I missed yours. I assume it was awesome. I'm sorry. So Irish Fest, I had some other questions, which you have seen because they were on the original list, but I want to, that's awesome.
We were on stage for that. Our entire board was on stage with,
that's awesome.
with Gaelic Storm singing Kiss Me, I'm Irish. And a little trivia about that. You know those cards that you get at the greeting store and you open it up and it plays a little bit of music? Well, I don't know if it was Hallmark or whoever, at St. Patrick's Day, they had a card. When you opened it up, it had Gaelic Storm singing Kiss Me, I'm Irish.
That's good. That was one of the that's one of the first shows I actually remember at Irish Fest. I had something else that I was going to mention later on in the show, but let me see. So we had my wife's best friend, a very dear friend of ours. Jen was Alana's best friend, is, I think, in many ways. And so we'd come down to Irish Fest, but we were always just like in and out. It wasn't a big deal to us. And Jen, you all knew her love of pretty much everything she was involved in was infectious. And so she kept convincing us to come down. And I think Gaelic Storm, was that 14 or was it 15?
I think they were with us in 15.
Okay, so 15. I just remember being at that show because it was a big deal to Jen that we were there. And then it was the first Irish Fest. That was like my real first Irish Fest experience. And that Gaelic Storm show really just brought that home for me. And I understood why she loved the festival so much during that show. Yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to bring up a sad note.
No, that's good. That's good.
I immediately thought of her.
We all have great memories of Jen, and absolutely.
So on another downer note, what am I doing here? All right, last downer note, and then we're going to go off the rails because I've got great pictures of Chad drunk. Irish Fest was canceled, and it wasn't canceled. It was turned virtual. Irish Fest was, we'll call it, pushed in a different direction in 2020 due to COVID. How did y'all adapt? How did it impact the nonprofits, and how did it impact you personally?
Go ahead, LaShelle. You were impacted.
The virtual concert, because it wasn't something that we had done before, I thought it turned out fantastic. I thought that the response that we had from the artists was amazing. And we had a little contest that led up to it, and seeing our motto was keep Irish in my heart. And we asked people to share photos of how they were keeping Irish, and it was moving. It really was, to see that the community was still coming together, even though it was through the wires of the internet. It was a lot of work, and my husband was mad at me because of how much time I spent on that. But it was, leading up to that, though, it was devastating. It was a really, really difficult decision to make that we didn't want to make, and it hurt. And we shed a lot of tears and despaired over it a lot. I'll let Chris talk about the impact on our donations and so forth, because that's another thing that was devastating and we despaired over.
Sure. So one of the things that maybe some people realize, and Dave alluded to it earlier, but maybe some people don't, is the fact that part of our mission is to give back to our community. And because we are so blessed to have such a great sponsorship base, and thank you to buying the G&L gift cards. G&L is one of our major sponsors. Obviously, G&L, Family Financial, Vans Car Wash, and Budweiser are our major sponsors for the festival, along with scores of others. But because of them and their commitment to us, we're able to give so much back to the community. And we do that in a variety of different ways, whether it be, canned goods that we've given to food pantries, or where we've given money to organizations like Muskegon, the Luge, Muskegon Winter Sports Complex, or whether it's the Boy Scouts or the LST, a variety of different organizations. And depending on the year, we could give as much as $50,000 cash back to the community. Obviously, in 2020, we didn't have a festival, so we didn't have the opportunity to have that extra money to give back to the community, and that was unfortunate. But it is just it's part of the true facts of what happened. So that was a bummer, and also for us, we as a unit, we were able to meet a couple of times in the summer together, but we were outside. We haven't, as a board, haven't been in a room together for over about a year. I guess it's about a year now. And we spend a lot of time with each other throughout the year. So that's kind of a weird feeling too. On top of the fact that we weren't able to do the festival, which we all love to do. Everybody that's doing it is doing it because they want to give back to our community and they love being part of it. It certainly isn't because we get to see any of the great music. We miss the music at our own festival. That's why we travel to other festivals. We don't get to see the stuff at our own event. But that's a real light switch flipper for me, is to be able to do that and be part of that and get back to our community.
Yeah, that was tough. That was I remember that meeting when we pretty much decided it wasn't going to happen, and yeah, I think we all teared up at that moment, that realization. And we're not the only ones that are passionate about this festival. Our patrons are too. I mean, they come year after year and support us, and a lot of people, it's the highlight of their year. I've heard people say it's my favorite time of year. We love the Irish Fest, and we get passes for the weekend, and so we're not the only ones that are really passionate about it. It's the community is.
Sure. Somebody asked a question in the comments here: what makes an act or a band a candidate to play at the festival? And so many things come into consideration and play for that. We're always trying to look for a balance of types of genre of music. We're also looking for, who's the new hot band from Ireland that's coming over, and are they on the circuit? When I say the circuit, are they coming over for 7 or 8 other Irish festivals? Because that's the only way it can work for those bands. They have to be able to string together enough festivals to pay for their travel to get here, because there isn't a festival that's paying for their airfare. Nobody's doing that. They're paying them to perform at the festival, and they're maybe giving them hotel rooms when they're here. But many of those bands, each individual person might have to spend upwards to $4,500 just for their visa to come. So it depends on who's touring, who's available. Sometimes we want to get somebody, and people will say, "Why didn't you have them?" Well, it's not that we didn't want them. They were booked maybe in Los Angeles, or they weren't touring. We've had that happen with We Banjo 3 a couple years ago. We wanted them, and 2 of the brothers, because there's 2 sets of brothers in that group, they had a family wedding. They weren't playing, so it wasn't because we didn't offer and we didn't want them. So it's a real chess piece game, and it just depends on budget and who's playing and who we've already got booked, and so it's a big job for us to coordinate that.
Chris, don't forget about the music initiative in Ireland.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, Michael, I don't even know if you're aware of this. We've done this a couple of years. It's called the Michigan Irish Music Initiative, and we work in Ireland up and coming bands. There's a competition, and then it's usually about 10 bands that compete, and the winning band comes over. We don't pay them to perform. We pay for them to come and play. And it's typically a group that's never been to the States before. And so that's kind of a fun thing too. And we've been able to do that twice. So hopefully in the future, we'll be able to do that again.
Yeah, and it's great it's great exposure for the band first because it's live streamed and it, plays for anybody in the world who wants to watch it. But like we've talked about, we go to other festivals come to our festival, and so this band is exposed to the other festivals, get to hear the band and are interested in them, and we see that happen where the bands then get booked the following years at other festivals.
Right. That also happens from our conference. We have a conference just about every year. Of course, 2020 we didn't, obviously, but where we'll go to a different city for an Irish Festival conference, and there will be showcases there. And that's another place that we find bands. If Pittsburgh is hosting the conference, they'll stack the showcase, 2 nights of showcase with music. And so we'll see bands that maybe we've heard of but have never seen, or maybe we've never heard of. And then those bands have the opportunity to get picked up by festivals too.
Yeah, and we hosted the conference here.
2013.
Yep, and it's been hosted. I mean, it's this year. It was supposed to be in Ireland, right? Is that right?
Correct.
And I'm proud to say that when we had our conference here, we were, up until that point, we were one of the most well-attended conferences here in Muskegon, Michigan.
Awesome.
Yep.
So you mentioned a few times throughout there, before this year, because we kind of let off with the COVID, and so not talking about 2021 because we're just going to gloss over the fact that it's 2021. Looking forward into future years, do you think that the impact of this past years is going to have a lasting? Is it going to cause lasting change for the festival? Are things going to be different, or do you think that realistically, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, we're going to be back at? I can pull that picture right back up. We're going to be back at this.
Yeah, I think it will be. I think that there's going to be a comfort level for everybody, as far as, do they want to be in that big of a crowd? I think that that's definitely going to be an issue, maybe until 2022. I think once everybody's vaccinated and everybody's got a year under their belt, they might feel a little bit different about that. But I think that there will always be an element of people that sit back, stay away, maybe wear a mask, whatever. And we might see that going forward. Who knows, But I think people want to be back to that, As funny as you might think when you look at those photos that that's normal, because that doesn't look normal. I think we all want that kind of normal, right? We want to see Dave doing that body surfing like Patrick Murphy.
It's funny. I hate crowds, and yet there are still moments where I yearn for those days.
Right.
Much less everything else. So time to start heading in the direction of going off the rails. And I've got some somewhat serious questions still. Audience, if you have questions, please chime in throughout. We do give away gift cards for great questions and answering stupid trivia questions that I come up with. But my first random question is, exactly how drunk did you have to get Chad in order to sober him up with Bud Light? For those who don't know, that's my business partner and our head brewer. With Colin, he's British.
I think he was holding it for someone else.
I'm sure he didn't even take a sip out of that.
That's my response. I think he was bussing the tables. He was cleaning the tables.
His eyes tell me exactly that.
All that being said, I do have to give a shout out to Budweiser and the folks at Tyler Sales, because they have been with us since the very beginning, and you couldn't ask for a better partner. So kudos to them.
When I was going through LaShelle's photos, I saw multiple pictures of her Bud Boy, Bo.
Oh.
And
I saw him at the Mexican restaurant yesterday.
I think you literally take the same picture with Bo every year.
I love my Bud Boy Bo.
It made me smile because Bo is now he's a sales rep. He was a driver for a very long time, and he's now a sales rep, and he's our main sales rep for Muskegon County area on premise. and he is awesome. He's also a brawler, so he might be Irish. I'm not sure. All right, so kind of heading a little back away from being totally off the rails, but still fun. If Irish Fest could be a full-time job that met your financial needs, would you ditch your day job? And we'll pretend your bosses aren't watching. Is it too much stress, or is it something that you would actually embrace to do full-time if it actually paid?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Yeah, LaShelle.
My answer to
It is a part-time job for me because it's all year round for me. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
I love my paying job. I absolutely love my paying job with all my heart. However, it'd be a lot easier to just focus just on one subject, Irish fun, day in and day out. So I don't know. I'm going to straddle the fence on that one, but it would be a lot of fun.
He's watching the city commission meeting. I'm sure you're fine.
A lot of what I do takes place, during the festival and right around the festival time, because I feed the masses and I feed the entertainers and the volunteers and among other things. But that's my that's the thing that I do. So if I could do it year round and get paid for it, heck yes, I would do it.
Awesome. Chris? Truth.
Well, personally, people say to me, "Oh gosh, Chris, what are you going to do when you retire?" I'm like, I could be retired in a New York minute, and I would be plenty busy because I spend a lot of time on Irish Fest. But for me, I think one of the things that's so appealing to Irish Fest is the fact that we're all volunteers, that there is no paid staff. And I think that that's good because you know what? We're all in this boat together, whether it's a 3-hour shift volunteer that just works 3 hours or somebody that works on it year round. So I know that I could take up my life with it, and I obviously spend a lot of time doing it already. So I just hope that, when I'm ready to retire, I still have the ability to volunteer at that level.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go back off the rails. What the heck's the deal with kilts? I mean, I understand they are amazing for airflow. And as a man who lives in a place that gets warm in the summer, I appreciate that. But what's the story? I guess I don't have a cultural appreciation because I don't know.
I'm going to say if you don't understand it, you haven't worn one.
All right.
Those are my husband's legs, too.
I honestly didn't know that.
Who's he with? Who's he with, LaShelle?
I think he's with Alistair. Alistair that used to be at
okay.
And Hennessy's.
Okay. All right. I think I probably would have known that those were John's legs.
They're nice legs.
They are nice legs.
They are nice legs.
I have to admit, I think about getting a kilt every year, and it just passes me by. So
you guys need to do it this year, both of you.
Right. This is the year, guys.
All right. Dave, if you get a kilt, I'll get a kilt.
All right.
Done. All right. So going off of, I guess bad behavior might be linked to kilts. Definitely no names necessary. But are there any great stories about bands misbehaving? And I have a great story about my brother misbehaving. He did not get overserved at Irish Fest, but it involves it. So if you give me a good story about bands, I'll give you the story about my brother.
Ooh.
Oh boy. I've got a really good story, but it's only good if I can say the name and of the bands, and I can't do it. And LaShelle, it's that time we were at Mike's Inn.
Oh,
that's a great story. But I can't do it without saying the names because that makes the story. So I can't do that. They weren't misbehaving though.
No,
No.
somebody else was.
Somebody else was.
a lot of the good stories happen after hours or
Right. Of course.
after the festival is over and we're gathering at Smash Wine Bar. And
So I remember a really good time. This was just a couple of years ago. I'm trying to think if it was 2018. We were getting ready to go. It was 11 o'clock at night, and somebody, I don't know how it was that we ended up going out to the Whiskey Snug, and the guys from Scythian came with us. And before you know it, there was only about maybe 20 of us in the Whiskey Snug, and the guys from Scythian were singing, and we were all singing and having a good time. I think, Dave, I don't know, did you bring some snacks out there or something? I don't remember.
Yes.
And we were having a really good time until security kicked us out. I kind of thought to myself,
They kicked us out of our own festival.
I'm the president of this organization. No.
I've been kicked out by security too. How about you, Dave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're setting a good example by that. But.
It definitely took me past the boundary to take this photo. I remember thinking, I'm not allowed to go over there. And LaShelle's like, no, it's fine. Come on over here.
Good.
Great picture.
Good.
Which does beg the question, mustache or beard?
Beard.
Weird.
Good choice. That's what a lot of us say. So
It looks like a porn mustache.
thank you. Oh, you know what? Hold up. I actually have something for that. I have a photo related to that. Give me a second. This is segueing so well. I would like to ask Dave, what does this candle smell like, Dave? This is off your Facebook.
That's usually what I send as a gift to anybody that I know that has a birthday.
Does it smell like burning hair?
I've actually never lit it, so I don't know.
That's good. I think we're off the rails.
My wife agrees with you.
People out there are going, Ron Jeremy? Who's Ron Jeremy?
I could not have made a better segue than that. Thank you. Oh, wow. All right. So we didn't have any crazy band stories. I'll tell a crazy patron story. If you've got, and he wasn't, I will very vehemently say that he was not overserved at Irish Fest, and I'm not just covering for you, because I left him after last call. My little brother had just moved in with us, Alex, wonderful, amazing guy, but he had just moved in with us, and we took him down to Irish Fest and had a great night. He was hanging out with me while Alana was working, and we had maybe 3 beers over 5 hours, just having a great time. Last call, we got another round. We got separated. I sent him a message, said, hey, I'm going home. No big deal. I'll see you there whenever. Be a kid, have fun. You know the door code. So he ended up going to Pigeon Hill, also not overserved there. Met some people who had been at Irish Fest, and then went to another bar, which I will not name, where he was drastically overserved. And so I've got video, which I almost showed and I held back. I have video of my little brother trying to punch the door code like this and failing miserably, and then kind of walking around my backyard like this for 5 hours.
No.
He fell into our fire pit. He was fine. I thought he was vomiting when I reviewed the footage. He fell into our fire pit, got up, laid down on a chair like this for about 2 hours, got up, lurched around some more, and about 7:30 in the morning, finally remembered the door code. So that's
Came to a minute.
That's Alex's night that started at the Irish Fest. And I almost did the video, but I have a little bit of sympathy for him.
I think that would be a really good thing to do, LaShelle. We should ask our all of our musicians, especially those that have been with us year after year after year, give us your favorite Irish Fest.
And get it on tape. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially because we've got a number of bands that have been with us for, lots of years, and I'm sure they got stories to tell.
Remember the guy that drove his motorcycle inside the event?
And left it.
He parked it right in front of the Welcome Center.
So we put a lock on it.
Well, at least he left it. He knew better than to drive it home.
Yeah, but we put a lock on it so he couldn't take it. Yeah. Yeah.
Is he gonna own up? Are you watching right now?
No.
That'd actually be pretty awesome.
I can share with you a couple of funny things. You know, we get all kinds of phone calls into the office. And so those are some funny things. Like we got a call one time, then they said, are you having a raffle? I said, no, we're not having a raffle. Oh, well, I have an accordion I wanted to give you for your raffle. And I think Chris Colley took the call and she said, we're not having a raffle. But I have an accordion I want to give you for the raffle. And she says, but we're not having a raffle. And they said, well, don't you like accordions? No, we're not having a raffle. I had one where I took the call one time where a woman called and was asking about the golf cart ride from the Mart Dock lot to the entry. And she said, I'm coming with, there's 4 of us. Are we going to be able to ride together on the golf cart to the gate? And I said, I don't know that. She goes, well, I need to know if we're going to be able to all ride together on the cart to the gate. And I said, well, even if you're on separate carts, you'll be able to reunite with your party at the gate. She said, yeah, but we won't be together. And I said, ma'am, this is not the Beijing airport. I'm certain you're going to find your party at the gate. And she said, oh,
Dave Curley.
You're right. I probably shouldn't have asked that. So I have Dave Curley calling me right now, and I don't want to say that he was the one that I wanted to tell a story about. So I'm going to have to tell him I can't talk. So yeah, so we get some funny calls into the office for sure. So that's all part of it.
I mean, you know, that's part of the fun, right?
Right.
It really is. As long as I like to say, as long as nobody gets hurt and everyone's at least mostly responsible, that's the fun.
Right.
It's those crazy nights that we mostly remember, which does bring me to a photo that I had. Chris, you told me that it would be extremely difficult to find pictures of you that I could talk about. And you were right. It wasn't like LaShelle where I almost burned up my hard drive. Actually, it was my processor.
Well, actually, when you walked away from the phone, LaShelle said that one of her favorite memories was when she dressed up like a chicken boxer. And I said, I have a photo of that and I'm going to find it and put it I'll put it on your page.
Please do.
I will.
So as I know, you're not a beer drinker.
I'm not.
Begs the question, did you just pour this out?
No. So this was in the Guinness warehouse in Dublin.
Yeah.
And we went on the tour and we got our certificate in pouring a perfect pint. And I will say that after I poured the pint, 2 or 3 of the other people in the picture with me may have went to fisticuffs fighting for my beer because I did not drink it. But 2 or 3 of the other girls in the picture did.
Fair enough.
Perfect.
We'll just go with all 3. So as I mentioned, I already showed the picture of you in Ireland. Oh, I had one with Ted Terniglia. Love the guy. In case Ted comes up, I had a picture ready. But now there is LaShelle, and I really had to trim photos because you just gave me some great stuff to work with, and you said I could use anything I wanted. So you said it was fair game. I need to know: do you have a crush on Buster Keaton?
Apparently, I do.
I mean, he's a good-looking guy. I'll give you that.
So,
were you like 16 in that photo?
What's that?
Were you like 16 in that photo? Look at you.
Do you know that? You know, our little leprechaun guy. The picture of Jen kissing Buster.
Yeah.
That's Buster Keaton. Actually, Larry the Leprechaun began his life as Buster Keaton in a vaudeville sketch that he did with his family. So, yes, I do have a crush. And Chris sends me pictures of Buster Keaton all the time, and I love it. That's if you Google Buster Keaton
That's awesome.
vaudeville when he was a kid, he is in that outfit.
That's phenomenal. I learned something new about old shit, which is my favorite topic. That is awesome. Okay, so you do have a crush on Buster Keaton.
Yes.
I have more. Don't worry.
Who doesn't?
The next question is, do you believe that violence is the answer? Because according to your Facebook, you apparently do. You're going to punch Kimmy in the nose.
So I had a thing when the kids were at the house, and we had a lot of kids at our house all the time about using a coaster. And she was just teasing me because, she was teasing me about not using a coaster. So.
All right. So this is actually not a question for LaShelle because she's already told me the answer. You are obviously your own perfect drinking buddy.
I don't remember that.
I didn't post it. You did. So, Chris, who's your perfect drinking partner?
I probably would have to say my cousin Debbie Smith. Debbie and I probably have taken selfies with Debbie more than anybody else in my life. And we're always having a good time. So I'm taking the picture. She's doing the drinking.
Totally fair. And Dave, for you?
For me, my perfect drinking partner, I would have to say, if I'm keeping it in the world of Irish best people, I would have to say Kevin Donovan.
Oh.
I just love his wry sense of humor and his little pokes and jabs at everything that exists.
Totally fair. All right. I think this is the last one I have for It is the last one I have for LaShelle. She's already seen this one. And I just need to know, why is this on your Facebook?
So at least I covered it up with my fresh vegetables. That was a gift from Rosemary Maddie, now Gidry, and I re-gifted that to my friend Greg Borgman across the alley.
Good choice.
I kept the vegetables, though.
I'm just mad there's not a banana for scale. All right. So, I brought this picture in just because we are going to have a trivia question, and you were on my winning trivia. We were together.
Yeah.
Pigeon Hill just commented, "This is Amy. LaShelle's Facebook is saucy. I assure you." So, Pigeon Hill, I think we were the inaugural winning trivia team.
That was fun.
That was a great time.
It was.
So, Dave, we already talked about the amusement park. No, I'm not. I had some great photos of you as a kid, and I decided to kind of bring it back. And, I guess I noticed that your dog, Harper, who is amazing, is really, if you know Harper, she's nothing more than a horse pretending to be a dog. And so what I'm wondering, and what I think the rest of the world is wondering, is have you ever considered letting her give kids rides around the festival? In all seriousness, could you let us know a little bit about Harper? Because I've had the pleasure of getting to meet Harper when she was just a pup, and now she's obviously grown up. What's her background? My former dog was a Boston Terrier, and I had to put Otis down like years ago, and I kind of waited, and I saw Harper on Facebook. Some breeder posted, "This is my last puppy," and so I
I went down there and picked her up, and at 8 weeks she was already 26 pounds. But she's just been an amazing dog. She's so fun, and she's docile. So she, if we're not doing anything, she just pretty much sleeps all day. But she loves other dogs, and she loves people, and she's it's like walking around with a unicorn. I mean, people are just drawn to her. And, when we're driving around in the Jeep and I have the tops off and, I'll look in my rear view mirror and here she comes. I look in my rear view mirror and like people are getting their phones out. They're taking photos, and I just love the smiles that she brings to people. And so, yeah, she's an amazing dog. Love her to death.
But also definitely a horse.
Well, so right there, I'm reliving a childhood memory.
It's a penny horse. Yeah.
Yeah, penny horse and Meyer.
Absolutely. When you grow up poor in Muskegon, like that is the amusement park. You're like, holy, we get to go to Meyer? Oh my gosh, it's the best day ever.
I absolutely had to get that picture taken. So that was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So let me totally lost what I was thinking about. Let's see. Oh, I actually I've got a bunch of great pictures I have queued up. So I had a guest on a few weeks ago, and I asked him questions about his hair, and he was evasive as to whether or not he would grow it back. And I think LaShelle's opinion is probably the most important in this instance. But I would like to hear it from all of you. Does Bob Lukens need to grow his hair back? For those who don't know, Bob is in charge of Visit Muskegon. So that is the face of Muskegon tourism right there. And I personally really think we need to get Bob to grow his hair back.
I do too.
And he looks like a grade Bob Ross.
All right.
He has this white spot right here, and if you can see it, every St. Patrick's Day, he dyes that white spot green, which is awesome.
LaShelle, I feel like you have this poll. Can we set up an ad campaign for Muskegon where it's Bob, just like, we're not a happy little accident. We're Muskegon. You need to make this happen for me.
Some of us would kill for hair like that.
Right?
No, I don't know what it is about Bob Lukens' hair, but I miss it so much. Like, dude, it was so great. All right, so you're all from Muskegon. You, everyone except. Wait, I'm trying to remember here. Dave, you went to Shores, correct?
Yep.
Dave went to Shores. We have already expressed our condolences. But you were a downtowner. I know from photos, and you worked at the Century Club. So kind of, I grew up in Muskegon. I was born in '86, so I'm just a pup. And well, not anymore. I guess I'm starting to not feel like a pup. But the Muskegon that I grew up in, we had this kind of scary mall that your parents didn't want you to go to. You lived in a different downtown Muskegon, and I guess I'm wondering, kind of from the whole Peanuts gallery here, or the crew we've got assembled. You all lived and/or worked down here. What was it like? I hear everybody saying, "Oh, we need the old Muskegon back," but I feel like you have all kind of embodied the new Muskegon. So was it as great as we keep hearing, or is what we have now better?
I think when people say that, they're referring to the old Muskegon before the mall, when all the businesses were all downtown. And I don't really remember that.
I don't either.
I don't remember that. I worked in the mall. I worked in Steckety's. I do want to say that I worked in the lingerie department for 5 years. So I've seen a good share of Muskegon in their underwear for a number of years. And some of it was good, some of it was not.
I don't have a picture for that.
But I have, with the exception of the job that I'm in now, I've worked downtown for my whole career. So I saw it when the mall was still thriving, and then when they tore it down, and then the whole rebirth of everything that's happened downtown. And personally, I love it. I love the stuff that's happening, and I have said this to many people on different occasions that I think the turning point there was when Unruly opened and then Pigeon Hill opened. And the two of you guys, your businesses, I think that was like the jumping off point for everything else to start happening downtown. And it was when those two businesses were open, it was now cool to walk down the street from one to the next. And all of the things that have happened in the years since you guys opened, I think is phenomenal. And I think it's just going to continue to flourish. And we had a little bit of a hiccup over the last 11 months, but I think we're going to come out of that at the other end of the tunnel, and we're all going to be better for it when it's all said and done.
When Unruly first opened, I was running Smash Wine Bar at the time, and I had a really kick-ass office, like on the third floor, like right on the corner, facing the traffic circle. And so I would sometimes go up there and just watch downtown, and I remember the first time going into Unruly and just looking around and thinking, because I've been in the restaurant business for a long time in this town, but I didn't know a soul in there. And I thought to myself, the Beards are here. Thank God the Beards are here.
Mm-hmm.
And right, but I meant that culture. I meant that craft brew culture was finally in downtown, and it was a good thing. And then Pigeon Hill opened, and then everything kind of started to fall into place, but when I lived downtown, I was a waiter at the Century Club, and I lived on Clay Avenue, like 2 houses down from the county museum, in a little tiny apartment. And every year, the best thing about that house was every year when the festival came into town, all the food vendors for the art fair, like in my front yard. So I'd walk out, and there'd be people like sitting on my steps, eating ice cream and having a good time, and so it was a great time. And I could walk to work. I'd walk to the Century Club. I'd put on my tuxedo, which we wore tuxedos at the time, and carried the little white side towels, and we would crumb the tables, and it was the kind of dining that you will never see again around here.
There's nothing like a good sausage sandwich with peppers and onions for breakfast.
Oh man, we loved it. Yeah.
That is one thing that so when I asked this question, I was hoping for a hint of debauchery, but at the same time, and I figured LaShelle would just call John into the room for that. But at the same time, I have Dave, you wouldn't remember, but the first time I met you, I just ran over and I grabbed this picture. My grandmother, who is near and dear to my heart, was obsessed with the Sardine Room, which is one of the best restaurants Muskegon has ever seen. And so that was, part of the impetus for asking about the Century Club as well. Obviously the world has changed. We fine dining establishments don't hold the same position they once did, but it is something that I think Muskegon is kind of getting back to being ready for. Maybe not having a large dining club, but there are definitely times when we eat at the Hearthstone. We do, and the Hearthstone it's a fine establishment, and it's a wonderful establishment. And we just my wife and I ate at Walker's recently, and it's a wonderful establishment. And I know the prices that I'm paying, and I know that when I walk in there, I'm not alone. And it makes me think, we're ready for a place that is, doing exactly what they're doing, but where you feel uncomfortable if you walk in shorts.
Well, and it's funny you should say that, Michael, because I see a lot of the food like going on in this town at the lake house, at the Hearthstone, outside of this town at Paisley Pig. And those guys are doing food that was above our level at that time. Like, seriously, I mean, when I was at the Century Club, I mean, the food that we did there was cutting edge, but because there was nobody else around that was doing these kind of meals. But now it's commonplace.
But it was what that provided was an experience.
Right.
The experiential dining. Which
we had 12 tables.
But I feel like we're getting closer. And frankly, I hate ever being told, "Sir, you need to put a jacket on. Sir, you need to take the hat off." Like that. I do my hair once a week, and it's for this show. Otherwise, I've got a hat on. But at the same time, there's always that time and place.
Well, and we used to do after parties for the symphony there, and they would hire a harper that would be at the top of the steps playing her harp. As you walked in, and everybody's dressed up to the T, and you would go into the library and get your glass of champagne, and then you would, it was something else. I mean, it was an amazing time. But there was a lot of debauchery too.
I had like 20 pictures of you smoking cigarettes, and I just figured.
Well,
at one time.
Where Dave and I first met was downtown Muskegon. We were serving together at Brenneman's restaurant.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Dave, I didn't know until I just saw on Facebook a week or so ago that you posted those pictures of you living in that house. What year did you live there?
So it would have been probably the mid-'80s.
Oh, see, because I worked at the museum next door to there from like 94 to 2000. And so I definitely knew about those food vendors right outside my office window. I didn't wake up to it, but I came to work to it,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
All right. So we've got, we really need to throw in the trivia question here. And this week, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I've been racking my brain. And for those who didn't hear my introduction, I got a little shot this morning and my brain is really foggy. So I'm just struggling to come up with a question. So LaShelle, wrong hand, LaShelle, I'm putting you in charge of asking me a trivia question. And you've got about a minute to figure out what it's going to. I know I totally just put you on the spot, but I figured you're going to play ball. So, LaShelle, you've got about a minute to figure out a trivia question. It can be anything from favorite color to favorite. I've done favorite color, favorite animal. I mean, whatever. I really don't care. As long as if I don't have an answer, I'll shake my head no, and you got to try again. So we'll let the audience figure out my trivia question. And in the meantime, before we get to that, I'm going to hit some of the obligatory questions. And the first one is, LaShelle's like, I have no idea what to do.
Is the trivia question about you?
About me, yeah.
Okay.
So you'll answer, or you can ask that. And after we ask this important obligatory question, what do we need in downtown Muskegon, and why is it a Thai restaurant?
So I've been in the comments on these Tuesdays with enough that you know that my answer is a Thai restaurant. But I also will say a really retro tiki bar.
Oh, you stole my heart.
It could have been the trivia question.
What does it take to steal Michael's heart?
Chris, what do we need in downtown Muskegon, and why is it a Thai restaurant and a retro tiki bar?
Because the people would be lined up to get to either one of those, and people are ready to go out and to be seen and to see other people. And I know we all still have to be safe, and I respect that, and I want to do that. But man, as much as I love being with you guys over Zoom, I really want to see you in person and maybe touch your hand. So I think people will be lined up to get there.
I agree. Dave, anything else we need? Or just Thai restaurant?
I think that I think there's a lot of niche places that have an open field to get in on, and I think we've got enough pizza and we've got enough this and that, and I think a really a Thai restaurant would be perfect.
I would also be down for Ethiopian. I mean, really, for me, just more cultural food. And we've got, Berlin Sprague is now doing sushi downtown. We have sushi options around Muskegon. We have some great sushi options, but just bringing more diversity of cuisine.
Sure.
That gets me so excited. We talk so much about retail in downtown, and obviously I completely agree that we need that, but more diversity of cuisine and a tiki bar. You actually, you didn't know that about me. I have tiki mugs at home. I am obsessed with tiki. When I go out, I keep the trinkets.
He sends them to me when he's in like antique stores and stuff. He'll see like a little display of tiki stuff and he'll send it to me. So yeah.
I am absolutely obsessed. Oysters, I can completely get behind.
Oh, LaShelle loves the oyster.
All right, LaShelle, the time is here. Have you come up with a trivia question for me?
I think so.
All right, let's hear it.
We've talked about Harper tonight. What is Michael's dog's name?
I have two. So the first
dog's names.
Yeah, I mean, I'll accept either. Let's see. So I'll keep watching the comments. LaShelle's trivia question. What are my dog's names? If you get one of them right and the answers aren't rolling in, we'll roll with it. Fido is definitely not one of them. And I will give a hint. Both of my dogs are named after Beatles songs.
Oh.
So Bill, no, it's not Bill. Bill is not a Beatles song. So for someone who's looking to start, say, a Slovenian fest, because we're not all Irish, what would your first recommendation be?
Start small.
Start in Hackley Park.
Yep.
Use Hackley Park as your model and find out what the food is. Find out what the unique food is or drink or cultural thing that people can't experience anywhere else. And that's what people want. That's what people wanted. They want something different. No offense to butterfly fries, but you can get those at any festival. So they want something that they can only get there.
Yep. Look at the lines for the food at Polish Festival.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We really need a Mexican festival.
We do. We have one.
What?
Yeah.
He's working that weekend.
When did that happen?
Yeah. 2 years ago.
Yes. Last year was supposed to be their second year, but COVID.
Oh, okay.
And it was great. The first year was awesome.
So far, I'm going to comment on the cuisine in a second. We've got Bill, Bob, Jude, Eleanor, Helter, and Skelter. That's actually awesome. And Pepper, all of which are incorrect. My dogs are both named after Beatles songs, but none of those are correct. So, the one problem with Slovenians is we don't actually have our own cuisine. We just steal everyone else's and make it better. It's like making cars because we're Yugoslavians. So we don't actually make those better, unfortunately. The Yugos. Goldie, no. So we'll just, all right, so start small. I'll take that recommendation. And start small with lots of sauerkraut. So start small, but large enough that people can space out.
Especially if you're serving sauerkraut.
If Alana's watching, she would agree with that sentiment. All right, so it's not Goldie, it's not Pepper. I'm not going to give more hints yet. Just Beatles songs. They're both females. Maybe that's helpful. All right, let's go into the other mandatory question. We've got 3 now. 4, actually. We already asked 1. Favorite punk band? LaShelle, we'll start with you.
The Damned. And then Celtic, Toss Pints, Wax Seasons, Stone Clover.
Dave, for you?
I knew the Stout would have like 5. That's a super tough question.
You will be judged on your answer.
Yeah.
I'm going to fail.
The punk band that I wish I could have seen that I really love, I would say The Clash.
Solid answer. One of my dogs is in the sky with diamonds. The first person to get this wrong is terrible. Chris, favorite punk band?
You know what? I've never heard of The Clash or The Damned, so I totally can't play in this game.
Who invited her on the show?
I know, right?
So, hey, Graciela just got it. Oh, Pine Street. All right. Pine Street got Lucy before Graciela got Sadie. So those are actually my dog's names. Pine Street got Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Graciela got Sexy Sadie.
There you go.
Songs. Brian Powers says he said The Damned last week, so he'll say The Clash this week. I answer differently every week. And this one I don't actually think of as a punk band, but they are technically classified as punk. And I've been listening to them all week. It's the Pogues.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't think of the Pogues as punk because they're not traditional 3-chord, but at the end of the day, they're definitely punk.
I agree with that.
So that was my answer this week. It does change every single week, though. Vinyl or digital is the next mandatory question.
Well, looking at LaShelle's back, what's behind her, there's no question there.
For everybody else?
Digital.
Yeah, digital. I don't have time for vinyl.
LaShelle's been listening to all of her vinyl in order alphabetically for the last 4 years, and she's still on F.
Well, then the house happened, and I kind of fell off. But vinyl is awesome because it's tactile. Like you gotta the house. You gotta touch it. You have to interact with it to listen to the music, and I love that. And I just bought from Third Coast Vinyl, a little shout out to our record store over here on 3rd Street. I just picked up a soundtrack. There's a series by Ennio Morricone, who's a very famous, did cinema scores, and he recently passed away, and the series was released with different genres of his music, and I picked up my first one, and it is just such a breathtakingly beautiful. I took a video of, it's just, you can't get that with digital, but you got to have your digital because you can't take your vinyl records with you in the car.
Right.
One thing that I think that we've lost from the vinyl age to the digital age is listening to entire albums. Like, when's the last time you listened to a whole album?
Right.
Well, the other day.
Well, I'm not talking about you, LaShelle.
And another thing that we lost with digital music is that I don't know the names of songs because
right.
I put them in my device and I listen to them. I can sing all the words, but then if somebody says, "What song is this?" I'm like, I don't know.
And you don't have the liner notes to read.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I hate to do it, but we're going to have a secondary break. And I'm going to give you a good question. I'm sorry, everyone. It's been a long day. I'm going to give you a question, though. You can keep talking about vinyl, but the last question I always ask, unless we've got more guest questions coming in, is what is your perfect day in Muskegon? And just go around the room. I'll be right back.
Oh, wow. You gone yet?
He's gone. So I got to think that it's spending time at the beach with my family. Or at least cruising the ovals.
Yep. Yes. So I guess what I moved to downtown Muskegon for was my vision of a perfect day was to, in a summer on a Saturday, to get up and have breakfast at Carmen's, walk over to the farmer's market, come down and do their wine and beer samples, check out what's new at the market chalets, and then head to the beach.
Damn it, LaShelle, you took mine.
Well, you can go with her.
Breakfast at Canyons, farmer's market with the dog, head to the dog park, get down to the beach, and spend the rest of the day there until the sun goes down.
Yeah, our sunsets are, you can't beat them.
Yeah, and I really miss, one of the best jobs I ever had was, when I developed the lake house, and I was there every night for the sunset, and it was so cool. Like I loved that aspect of the job. I got to see it every night for 3 years.
Yeah, the view there is amazing. Our natural resources are fantastic. I mean, unbeatable. But what I really, really love about living here is that in addition to being a beautiful beach town, is we have so much culture here. I mean, we have 2 Mariner museums. We have an art museum. We have a heritage museum. We have our art museum is
Did you just say Marinara museums?
I heard.
Haven't you been there?
It goes with the cheese.
No, we have 2 of them.
But I mean, our great beach. But if it's a rainy day, we have so many options for great things to do, and beautiful architecture and outdoor art. And I just, man, I think the first personal hashtag I ever used was "love where you live," and I love it here. We all do, and that's what amplifies why you love it here, is because you're surrounded by a lot of other people who do love living here.
I've used that hashtag, stole it from you.
Well, and a lot of us are old enough to remember all of the down times, like where people were so negative about Muskegon, and I wouldn't go downtown Muskegon, I remember those times where there were so many naysayers, and even during those times, I loved it here, and I never found downtown threatening or scary or anything.
No.
Yeah, I love to see what's going on now, and every time I drive downtown, I get goosebumps. I look at what's going on and love it.
See all the people down there, it's like you said, goosebumps every time when I'll take a walk in the evening and I'll get down to Western Avenue and I'm like, wow, look at all the people. It's amazing.
My sister just asked me last week, we had to go for a ride. We were going for a ride, and I said, I've got to go to the post office to mail something. She goes, why don't you just put it in your mailbox and let the mailman pick it up? And I said, because I got to cruise downtown. I got to check it out, see if there's something new, something different, what's going on. So, Michael, what's your perfect day in the city?
I see that someone on Pigeon Hill's Facebook page, so either Amy or Alana, told me to answer that. All right. So I'm a runner. It's not exactly something I hide well. I talk about it all the time, but for me, it probably starts with going for a run. One of either Hoffmaster or Jackson Hill's neighborhood, of all places, is one of my favorite neighborhoods to run, Jackson Hill. So I go for a run in the morning and probably grab Bloody Marys or mimosas with some of my closest running friends, and then take the dogs for a walk. I actually hate taking my dogs for a walk, but at the same time, there's something I love about it because it means I get to go and, they're all so happy, and we get to see downtown. It's one of my favorite ways to just walk the loop around downtown Muskegon. And then probably pedal down to the beach, either grab a drink or lunch at the yacht club. Just see the water. For me, seeing the water is a huge part of my day. I'm obsessed with it. I don't like to be on the beach. I don't like to stay there. I just want to see the water. If there's the opportunity to do so, go for a quick sail. Just being on the water is like my happy place. And then come back downtown, grab dinner from, it's going to depend on how far I ran, what I'm hungry for, grab dinner from somewhere downtown. And if it's warm out, sit on the patio at PH and just see friends. It's one of my favorite places to see people I know. We're lucky. We're small enough that people still don't really care who we are, so we can hang out in our own establishment, and just hang out with friends and drink beer, and then watch the sunset go down over the LST and walk myself back home.
I think you probably should have tried to squeeze the farmer's market in there too, because you did everything else.
I mean, that's actually not an unrealistic Saturday for me in the summer. I'm a busybody, so a lot of would have gone to the farmer's market. I think large groups of people.
That's right. That's right.
I get really anxious around large groups of people. So the farmer's market is busy. It's good, but it's busy and it makes me anxious. It's like the cheese lady. I love the cheese lady, but I get scared every time I go in there and I panic and I can't figure out what to buy because there's just so many choices and there's so
Shelley is very scary, I can admit.
She was one of my guests, and
I know
that. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's great.
So that's what I had for everybody. Do you have anything else that you want to share?
The only thing that I'd like to make sure that we mention is we've got an event this weekend, and it's called Couch Potato St. Pat's, and it's got the cutest graphic. It's going to happen Saturday night, 8:00, and you can watch this concert on our Facebook page as well as on YouTube and IGTV.
Yes,
correct. Yep. It's presented by PNC Bank. We've got 4 different bands that are going to perform, so you'll be able to see a set from Seamus Kennedy, the Friel Sisters, Doolin, and Dave Curley. So it's a great opportunity for people to get their little Irish Fest fix, if you will. And it's 8:00 this Saturday night. So we really want you to tune in and check out Couch Potato St. Pat's.
Yep, and it's all free. And Pigeon Hill is also hosting a watch party.
Right.
We are. It's actually the first time in company history that we will have TVs showing anything other than a tap list. We just added TVs to use as tap lists. We've never had TVs. We added them to use to show what beers are on. And for the first time in company history, we are going to have something on those TVs.
Well, thank you.
And Pigeon Hill is sponsoring the Friel Sisters, which is a group out of Donegal. They hail from Donegal and Ireland, as well as Glasgow, Scotland. 3 sisters. And then there's 2 guys that play in with them. 2 guys that actually were part of the Conifers, which were one of our winners from our Irish band competition in Ireland. So they've been to Muskegon. The boys have. The girls have not. So thanks to Pigeon Hill for sponsoring the Friel Sisters, and thanks for the watch party this weekend. We hope that you got a full house watching the Couch Potato St. Pat's from your tap room.
I hope it's a 50% full house.
Okay, 50%. As many as you can have.
Yep.
And thank you for doing this, Michael. I've really enjoyed this series you've done, and it's a lot of work on your part and a lot of preparation and planning and putting it together, and it's been wonderful. Thank you for this.
Yeah, and I appreciate it too. And I had no idea that I'd have this much fun over these last 2 hours. I hope that it was half as fun that was watching as what we have had. So thanks.
We the great part is people. I think they're really bored at work. I'm not sure what, but for our viewers tomorrow morning, you're awesome. You make up actually the bulk of the viewership. So I won't tell your boss if you don't. Thank you for joining me. Thanks to all the guests who've joined for season 1, because it's been a wild ride. I honestly was worried booking 7 episodes to start. I actually thought about putting disclaimers with all of like week 4, 5, 6, 7 about, hey, we might cancel midway. But it's been great. So, and thank you all. And thanks for being on Irish Fest. It's my favorite reason to forget how much fun I had.
Great.
We should.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, y'all. I'm going to bid you adieu and then give a good night message. Thank you, everybody, for joining for the last episode of season 1 of Tuesdays with Michael. It's been a crazy ride. As I just said, I honestly thought that this show might end like an episode or 2 in, and yet here we are 7 weeks in. Not lying when I say that I'm really excited to take a week or 2 off, just to have some Tuesday nights to sit on the couch and do nothing, maybe watch someone else do the same thing. But I'm actually really excited to potentially continue this in the future. I've had a great time getting to know people and getting to read all of your comments. So if you'd like to see more, let me know. Let me know who you'd like to see on the show. Shoot it in the comments, send us a message, send me an email. P.S. I know nothing about sports. So I'm actually reading a script at this point. I know nothing about sports. So I think it would be really amazing to talk to Justin Abdelkader about Muskegon and sports puck games. I went to a sports puck game or 2 in the past, and it was interesting. So if anyone can make that happen, let me know. Let's do it. Until then, thank you all for everything. And, I hope to see you soon doing this again. Cheers.